Alrighty, so now we're going to turn our plane into a prefabricated object, and then we're going to color. We're going to paint our plane. We're going to learn how to make some basic materials. A reminder to the 2 cell phone zombies I'm currently looking at, put them away. Otherwise, I'm going to have you put them in the box. Okay? Even if you're one of my favorites, I'll still be mean. Diego's like, I'm not one of your favorites? You're one of my favorites too. You all are my favorites. I like you all. Please put the cell phones away. So we're going to make a new folder here. Let me zoom in on this. This stuff all is going to get done up here in the inspector and the project panel, and I moved these close to each other so we could see them all together here, nice and convenient. Beginning in our assets folder, selecting your assets folder, I want you to click the plus symbol and make a new folder, and immediately name this folder Prefabs. Capitalize the P, please. Unity actually recognizes this folder. Unity recognizes it as a folder that's going to contain certain objects. It knows that word, prefabs, and if it sees it in a Unity project, it handles it different than other folders. It handles it differently than scenes, or later we'll have a materials folder too. And then I'm going to click on that empty prefab folder, and I'm going to take my plane that I've built, and I'm going to drag it and drop it into that folder. This turns the plane into a prefab. The icon also changes to blue. We got a different icon now for our plane pivot. And if I happen to go up here to my hierarchy now, and if I delete that instance of that prefab, it's gone, I can just drag another instance out. Want to have a squadron of planes? Practically got a formation there, don't I? That's the beautiful thing about prefabs. And the cool thing also about prefabs, as we make changes to these, and by the way, I'm going to delete these 3. I don't need them. We're going to be making changes to this prefab as we roll along here. And as we make these changes, we're going to notice that, like if we click on this thing called overrides, as soon as we start to make some changes, we're going to have overrides that we're going to have to apply to the prefab. So the prefab will be updated with the new things we're going to do to this object. So there, we've made it into a prefab, and you've got the sneak preview about how we're going to have to update the prefab. Now what we need to do is in our assets folder, create another new folder. So I'm going to click the plus symbol up here to folder, and this one's going to be called materials. And I just did a, oops. There we go, materials. This is how we're going to paint our aircraft. Initially, our initial materials are just going to be some base colors. You're going to select them. I hope that you don't all just use the colors I pick. You color this how you want to color it. Make it yours, color-wise. Go this point forward here. Try to make it yours. If you want to tweak a little bit some of the parts of your plane, just try not to break the plane. Feel free to tweak it, okay? So in this materials folder, I'm going to need to get some materials and open that up there, and I'm going to slide this down a little bit so I can see this whole area. In my materials folder, I'm going to right-click, select Create, and right in here in the middle, you're going to find Material. This will create a basic Unity material. It's going to put it in here, and I'm going to call this one my plane body. Now, what are the settings going to be for this? Well, if I take this material and if I drag it over the hierarchy and drop it on the plane body, I'll now see that nothing really changed because the default material is pretty much the same. But if I go and I pick a color here, see this color swatch right here? If I go pick a color here and drag it into the nice green right there, I'll close that. I'll notice that my plane's now got a green body, doesn't it? Now, if you missed that, what I did was I dragged the material, clicked and dragged the material over the plane body, and that applied it to the plane body. But that's not the only way you can apply materials to an object. Let's say I wanted to make my stabilizers the same color as my body. I can take the plane body color and just mouse over a stabilizer, and it'll apply the material right there for me. If I grab that plane body material, in fact, I might even want to rename this, instead of plane body, green. Is that more of a descriptive material now that I'm using it on multiple parts? Now, I want you guys to use at least 4 colors on all this, at least 4 colors. So my second color, I'll create a new material. Right click, create, material. I got a new material. I'll call this one red. Set its color to something in the red spectrum. And I'll drag the red and put it on my tail. Now I got a red tail. Red tail now. I'll make another color. Right click, create, material. I'll call this one yellow. And then this is also, I'm going to let this be like the color for my canopy. And I'm going to show you a little trick here too, because I want to make the canopy kind of see-through. So I'll make it something in the yellow range, but a light yellow. And I'm going to change opaque to transparent. And let me see if this worked. Put that on the canopy. Nope. I'm not getting that transparency that I want. See if I can find that setting. Transparent. 3000. That didn't affect anything. Yep, I think I'm probably going to have to switch to a different type of shader. We'll get to that later. So I'm going to put it back on opaque and just leave it yellow like that. I'll work out getting that transparent color. There's a way to do it and make it see-through. I just have to remember. And let me see. Let me make 2 more materials. Create, material, and I'll let this one be blue. And I'll pick something in that range of blue. And I think I'm going to apply that to my wings, just by dragging it and dropping it on my wings. And because I'm an overachiever, I'm going to make a 5th material. So create, material, and we'll call this one brown. Now, getting something in the brown spectrum. Where does brown live? Brown lives somewhere about right there, doesn't it? Kind of got to look in this wheel and figure out, where does brown live? At least that's for me. I want to use brown. And this brown's going to get used for my engines. And I don't like those. I want to make my tail match. There we go. And I'm pretty happy with that. Got my materials applied to my plane. But now there's some changes have happened over here. If I click back on my plane pivot, this is my instance of this prefab in the hierarchy. And if I click on overrides now, I'm going to see now that there are a bunch of overrides now listed, aren't there? These overrides currently are not applied to our prefab in the prefab folder. They live out here, but they're not applied to our prefab yet. I'm going to click Apply All. Now I will have no overrides, and not only that, if I select the prefab here in the prefab folder, and if I drag that thing up, I'll see that the prefab in the prefab folder's got all those materials on it, doesn't it? And how did I get that little window? By default, it's docked at the bottom here in the inspector. When you select the plane pivot prefab in the prefab assets folder here, there's little double lines down here. If you pull them up, you can see an instance, and you can even pan around and check it out, okay? In this little preview of, okay, so my prefab now matches the plane pivot in the hierarchy. Now, notice the little asterisk right here by the word main. See that little asterisk right there? That's communicating some important information to you. It's telling you you have unsaved changes in this scene. So I'm going to come over here and make sure I click File, Save. And that will save this file. Now all my information saved here. And I've got a painted plane. So that's going to wrap up applying materials. I'm going to go ahead and stop the video and then talk to this class I'm doing this live in front of. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks.